Hello. We have some opening words that come from the East. Appropriately, the choir did a Japanese number. This is opening words from the Buddha. In the sky, there is no distinction between East and West. People create the distinction in their own minds and then believe it to be true.
We bid you welcome. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think in a certain way, but only that you try to live a kindly and helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who find in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. Good morning and welcome to the Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington. My name is Barb Eglinton, and I've been a member here since 1997. And I love the words that Jesse shared last week. We came to this church for the religious education program for our daughter, and we stayed for the support that we've received as adults for community and spiritual enrichment. This morning, we're fortunate to have as a guest speaker, Dennis Slotnick. Dennis was raised as a Unitarian Universalist, and he credits his open-mindedness, fascination with science, social and political activism to his UU background. He was last at UUCF podium on Earth Day 2021, presenting the solar array with David Fredericks. Dennis has a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Michigan and a master's degree from Wayne State University. His interests are in science, especially evolution biology, human consciousness, and environmental science. He's a political activist, has an organic garden, enjoys skiing, birdwatching, hiking, and kayaking. A true UU. He lives near Toledo, Ohio, with his wife, Betsy. His mother, Virginia Slotnick, at the age of 108, passed on May 13th, Mother's Day, just before Mother's Day, because she was ahead of her time. She was a lifetime member here at UUCF. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors today. After the service, we have a congregational meeting. We invite you to stay for refreshments and conversation downstairs in our reception hall. But it will be a shorter coffee hour. It won't be a whole hour because we will begin our congregational meetings soon after. So if you are visiting or are not a member, then come back next week for a longer coffee hour. When we are in the meeting house, we are observing COVID precautions and wearing masks regardless of vaccination status. Children's religious education are typically held in the RE classrooms during the service, but today the kids, tweens, and teens have been invited to experience this intergenerational service. Joys and sorrows will be shared later in the service, and you can come to the microphone to share, or you can text your joy or sorrow to the number in the order of service. Please take a moment to silence your phones. And then join me in our shared affirmation of our vision, sharing our affirmation of our vision. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. Now it's time for announcements. Are there any announcements? Marie?
The right one. Thanks. Marie Laurie, Social Justice, on June 11th at 7 p.m. in Adams Hall. Social Justice Committee and the Membership Committee will be showing the movie Flee, and we hope you'll all join us. Flee is a documentary about a gay man born in Afghanistan. He's forced to flee Afghanistan, eventually ends up in Denmark. So it's not a secret, I didn't spoil anything. But it's about, the protagonist in the movie works under a pseudonym because it's still not safe for him to tell his story as himself to protect his family who are scattered throughout Europe. It's a really moving, compelling film. I watched it last week and I'm still chewing on it, so I hope you'll all join us, and there's always a lively discussion afterward.
But really not everybody, right?
Oh. Thank you. Yes, it is. It's PG. I do not recommend it for even young teens. It's a pretty tough movie. So, thank you.
Good morning. Another social justice we're going to predominate this morning. I'd like to announce that Forgotten Harvest has offered us an opportunity to volunteer at their warehouse on June 24th from 9 till noon. And it looks like a wonderful opportunity, but the resource does ask that we go on their website at forgottenharvest.org and sign up as a volunteer. This will give you all the rules and regulations and also allow you to sign their liability release online, so you don't have to do anything else than just agree to that. I will be at the back if you'd like to sign up. I'll be there and take your name, and then you can make arrangements through the Forgotten Harvest website. So thanks, look forward to it. I think I've broken the mic. I'll pass it on and she can take care of it.
Joan, is that June 24th for the?
June 24th, Saturday.
Thank you. Yeah, June 24th. And thank you, Joan, for organizing that. Just to piggyback, the Forgotten Harvest volunteers have to be 12 and up, so if you do have an older child that would like to participate, they're welcome. And if you noticed on the announcement slides, there was a big fancy QR code. My phone picked it up from way back there. So it will take you right to the volunteer page where you can sign all those lovely forms. I just wanted also to piggyback on Barb with the congregational meeting. Following service, we'll take like a 10-minute, 15-minute maybe, break for everyone to stretch. You'll need to check in at the back of the meeting house. Hope and Tom and I think Linda Brown will be back there. There's a table near the ushers. If you're a member, you need to check in so that way we can do a quick count for quorum for our congregational meeting. And there will be materials for the meeting back there as well. If you're not a member, you are welcome to attend. It's a great way to see how the church is run. The meeting will probably run 45 minutes, I think, maybe. And following, we bribe you with food. There will be lunch served downstairs following the meeting, including cake and ice cream to celebrate Reverend Karen joining us as our new full-time minister. So just heads up. Yeah.
Last week we had to meet the minister at the back of the meeting house, which was very well received. So we're going to do probably a couple every month until everyone feels like they've sufficiently met the minister. So I have a sign-up sheet we're trying to limit it to 10 people, so it's not overwhelming. I have a sign-up sheet here for next week's Meet the Minister and then the 2 in June. So I'm going to send it up this way and then down the other way. And I see that the pen is not there. And one last announcement. The memorial service for Virginia is on July 2nd. Is that correct? At what time, Dennis?
Time is after 4 o'clock.
After 4 o'clock. Thank you. Please rise as you are willing and able to sing hymn number 103, Touch the Sky, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. 301. Sorry about that.
This morning's reading comes from a professor who has definitely touched the earth in North Carolina. And he's studied very carefully ecosystem there. His name is David Askin. And he has a quote about not only touching the earth, but reaching the sky. I like the reference to the hymnal. Chickadee, eyes also perceive more colors than mine. I view with eyes that are equipped with 3 types of color receptors, giving me 3 primary colors, 4 main combinations of colors. Chickadees have an extra color sensor. Chickadees have 4 primary colors, giving them 11 combinations of colors, expanding the range of color vision beyond what humans can experience or even imagine. Bird color receptors are also equipped with tinted oil droplets that act like light filters. I feel like I'm overdressed. Especially after that song. It is really good to be back in the Unitarian Church of Farmington and share with you some of my latest thinking on how we perceive the world. We perceive the world through our senses and then construct what we think about the world from that information. And then we form opinions, and then we form values, and they're all based on how we perceive and see and hear and touch the world. Well, when I was in this Unitarian church at the previous location in downtown Farmington, I was a fifth grader. And I would like to ask any of the young students that we have here, if anyone is in fifth grade. Yes. One? Anyone in fourth grade? Cool. Anyone in sixth grade? Nice. Okay, so 4 of us. When I was a fifth grader, the experience was that Mom, Dad, and everybody else went to the church. We went down the block to a house and sat in the living room. And there was a teacher there, Jean Waddell. This presentation today is dedicated to Jean Waddell because she, when I was a fifth grader, explained to me how birds pollinate flowers, how trees grow, how rocks are formed, and how the stars are aligned in planets. We memorized this stuff, we had tests on it, and we had a ball. I was in 5th grade. And that experience was so important to me in religious education. Thank you, religious education. It completely directed my life into science, science education, 30 years of science teaching, and I still love to read as much science as I can. So pardon me if religious education gave me the roots and inspiration to give you a bit of science today from the podium. I invite you to take part in science experiment, science demonstration today, and challenge you to think about what it means when we perceive the world differently than we always have seen it. Today's presentation is about seeing the unseen. I invite you to do this today. This came out of, I was writing this sermon, and this came out of a tea bag. And I thought it was a good catch. Before we go into this content, can I diverge a little bit and take a notice of the solar array that is outside, and take a notice if you ever want to know data and information about this array. You can go on this website and find out all the details of its current production. 1 year ago, and 1 month, I stood with you and we were here with Dave Friedrichs and explained how this solar panel works. And Dave and his wife, Kathy, are here today to honor and recognize this array. I want to show you what has happened in 1 year of production. Dave, I want to have you stand a moment and be honored for Homeland as an installation. David is the inspiration for the solar panel. So anyone can go to this website, and I invite you to do that, UUCF, and you go under community, and you find that this is the solar production day by day by day. You can get it month by month, week by week, and explore this, and I suggest you do, and even make an experiment out of it. How much power do we get each day? Was it sunny? And what's the temperature? And correlate the numbers off of here. Easy to do, fun to do, good science, but what's more important than anything, some would say, is so what? Does it give us any advantage? And just less than 24 hours ago, I was fortunate to have the help of Jessica Sanchez and Liz work up the numbers. For everyone's open information and disclosure, that is what the solar array is doing this minute. As of billing savings since its inception, December of 21, we save $1,700 for the church. That's direct money coming, not going to the power company, but staying with us. Furthermore, there is a daily average that we dropped significantly, 28% less power coming from the grid and coming from us. That's estimated to be 1/3 of the power. We thought that would be the case. David, get back to Mark and tell your engineer that he was right on with the numbers. And we allow a little bit to go back to DTE, and that is, maybe you could call it charity, goes back into the community when we're not using as much power as they're making. And that is renewable energy, less amount of carbon than Farmington would otherwise be consuming. Congratulations to those who have worked, including Dave Petzel, our custodian. Dave, thank you wherever you are. Dave, are you here? He's setting up tables downstairs, devoted, right? So he was involved in that project. Let's get on now with one of the most amazing books I have ever read. Should be a textbook for every biology course. This young man has presented to us in exquisite detail how animals are perceiving the world. He's gone worldwide exploring with biologists in the field, in oceanography with the whales, in little bitty blades of grass with the aphids that talk with each other, and he has documented with quite a bit of science the way animals perceive. And it's so inspiring to me that I thought a sermon should only do it a little bit of justice. And what's significant about this is that the way animals perceive the world completely opens up our minds as to how very small fraction of this immense universe that we are perceiving with our eyes. Even to see stars and planets is just a small piece of the immensity of this universe. Let's take a voyage now. Let's take a voyage with Ed Yong and hear what he has to say and go into this detail now. How is it that animals perceive the world? But first, let's go to the Unitarian Universalist principle number 4, which you've probably seen more times than you could ever imagine, and you could probably even say it by heart, which would be cool. But I invite you to take these words another level deeper than ever before. And we'll come back to this. Let's take a look. What if we had the free and responsible search for truth? And I'm going to emphasize free here as free to let go of our previous misunderstandings. That's a different perception, maybe a different perspective of that word free. How about this? If we are responsibly searching for truth, we have to go with what's proven, what other people have found to be proven, and not accept mythologies and misunderstandings. Ed Yong does this exceptionally well. And furthermore, if we, I got up in the branches a little bit too quickly here. Search for truth. Truth, remember, is based on what? Our perception of the world. So if we're really asking what truth is, what do we have to ask first? How do we perceive the world? And then ask the question, how might we perceive the world if we have had faculties to perceive sounds outside of the hearing range, to see things outside of our visual range? And scientists help us do this exceptionally well, like no other species. And then, once we find out that our perceptions might be different, you see red, I see red, we might see red differently. Then we ask ourselves, oh, did you see a red on the turtle the other day? Now you're taking your perception of red and transferring it over to turtle. Did you see people of color today? Various races. What does that mean? Are there real prejudices based on your perceptions? Okay, let's go on in this for quite some time, if you like, during talkback and question and answer. Because this to me is the most challenging part of being Unitarian. To let go of what we thought we knew, ask the question, are we perceiving this correctly? And I think we've spent enough time on this in anticipation of how we perceive the world. I taste something salty, somebody else tastes the same thing, and they say, not salty enough. Pass the shaker, right? Let's do an experiment to see how true this is. We kind of think to ourselves, we know what salt tastes like. Does everybody taste salt that way? What is the difference? So let's find out what the difference is here among us today in the congregation. I need to have some volunteers. Yay, thank you. Come on up. And I need 10 of them. Volunteers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got kids. I'll tell you what you're doing first, and then you adults can join in. I know adults want to say, yeah, what are you volunteering for? We did that in the Army. We didn't like it. I couldn't get away with that joke in another church, right? So I'd like to have some adults here too. Hang on. You're going to taste salt 1 drop at a time in increasing amounts of concentration. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And tell me and tell everybody. She found the salt shaker. You're going to tell everybody at what point you could taste salt. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. Me too. Only I really should, out of respect for the diseases. So, adults, are you willing to put your tongue, and I drop 1 drop on your tongue? Come on. Thank you. Another? Thank you, Barb.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah. Only, don't be coaxed if you don't want. It's only the youthful vitality that gets us here. Do we have 10?
I think we have 1 to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. 10 total.
Am I missing my numbers here?
8, 9, 10.
Beautiful. Now, it's a lot easier if you're in a row.
Can you go all the way
Shimmy
down?
down a little.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, for everybody's interest, could you do me a favor and step toward the wall so that people can see behind you? There's bottles and jars here, and they're marked with the amount of salt that's dissolved in the water. It's pure, clean, distilled water and table salt. And this first one is labeled 1,000. And what you'll be doing is standing there with your tongue like that, and I come by, and you decide whether it's salty or not. Right? If you notice salt, you take this sticky pad and put it right there because that was number 1. That was the 1,000 parts per million. But if you didn't taste it until up here, it would go here. Got it?
Got it.
I have 2 colors of sticky pads just for the fun of it. And I have these bottles here. And I'm ready to go. Have you ever had so much fun in church before? You ready for this? Could you do one favor? I'm not the tallest guy in the neighborhood. If you could come down 1 step. Beautiful. That'll work. I thought for a moment I was going to get my picture taken.
I am, you are.
All right, here we go. Well done. Now, if you tilt your head back, it's a little easier for them. Now, don't be alarmed. 1 drop or 2. I can't control it always. Did you get it? This is 1,000 parts per million. 1,000 parts per million. 1/35th of the saltiness.
Is it
No?
salt water
Salt water.
bad? Take the mask off. But isn't salt water bad?
It's just water.
2,000 parts per million. It's okay to not participate. I mean, right? You don't have to. Just watch. Here we go. This is 2,000 parts per million. 2,000 parts per million. Whoops. Two. Oh, thank you. Oh, nope. 3,000 parts per million.
Do we
Are you
leave the
now?
line?
You know what you're
Do we
doing.
leave the line once we feel salt or no? Just
You can leave the line if you want, but for the fun of it, you can check what's going on, right? Just to verify. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
This is 3,000 parts per million.
Yeah.
4,000 parts per million?
I mean, I can taste the salt. I don't think it's that much. But like,
Any 5,000 parts per million? Anybody want to know what it's like? Just try it? No? Yeah, okay. Okay, we've got data. Everybody should take their card now and put it up on the screen for where they could first taste salt. Thank you for your help. I appreciate that.
I could taste it at but not buy it.
It could have been the French fries and ketchup you had on the way in today. What's going on? What's going on? Those of us who have a little science in our minds understand that 4 is twice as salty as 2. 4,000 parts per million is twice as salty as 2,000 parts per million. And I've had a number of students who come up with 1,000 parts per million. I mean, if we did a whole group, I'm sure we'd find somebody with 1,000 parts per million. And some people are tasting way down here. Maybe it's got to do with their toothpaste or something, I don't know. And some people are 5 times what other people can taste for salt. This is a simple experiment. It's called threshold limit value. It has to do with how much toxin an organism can endure before it notices it. Commonly done in all chemical tests and all laboratories, environmental labs. Anyway, the point is that human perception varies much more than we ever thought. By factors a lot more than we ever thought. And that's just simple. I've done this lots of times and always get a scatter. That means that when you go into a restaurant, you're getting different food than somebody else. No wonder they have a salt shaker on every table. But it also tells you about perceptions. That our nervous system, our body, our sense of salt, our sense of taste, all sorts of things that we taste, are probably profoundly different. Oh, not probably profoundly different. Obviously. Therefore, when we see a sunset, does everybody see the sunset the same way? When a frog sees moonlight, does frog see the same way as the owl? Probably not. That's the basis of our journey today, our immense journey. And I have to be careful. I have a tendency to watch my time a little closely. What we have just explained is called an umwelt. An umwelt was coined more than 120 years ago, almost 120 years ago, 110 years ago, by a German biologist who Jacob Uexküll. Are any Germans here that I mispronounced that? I apologize. Uexküll said, an umwelt is a part of the surroundings that an animal or human can sense and experience in its perceived world, but like a house, our body has a number of windows in which to look on the garden. The garden changes as it's seen from the house. The garden changes as seen from the picture windows. What he is saying is that our perceived world only depends on our senses, and our understanding of the garden only depends on our perception. This principle was lost in the biological circles until very recently. And what has happened is we've now come to understand that an umwelt is humans' way of misunderstanding the animal kingdom, misunderstanding the universe, and most probably misunderstanding each other. Because we have an umwelt, we have a notion of how the world is, should be, and it is based entirely on our perceptions. I have to pause here. Joe, I want to know how many minutes I have left because I sometimes lose track. Do I have? Because we got 16 minutes in the service. 10? Thanks, Jamie. I am. Sorry, I missed it. Well, I wanted to know whether I should skip a topic here. Ed Yong describes animals in this way. In a historic perspective, scientists thought one thing and then thought something else as they get more information. Here's an example. Animals that do not see color. This is a thought. Animals do not see color like you and I. But in 1880, it was John Lublick who discovered ants, the lowly gatherers of the planet. Ants can see ultraviolet light. This is 1980. That's pretty. I'm sorry. That was 1880. Okay, that's a pretty long time ago. And his work was essentially ignored for 50 years. What does that tell you, Paul Bailey, about scientists discovering something and then later on it's actually realized? 50 years later, we found that minnows and bees also see ultraviolet light. Boy. The narrative changed. Some animals see color, but it's a very rare thing. Another 50 years went by. 1980. Okay, that's still half, again, as old as you guys are. Researchers realized that reptiles, fish, birds also see ultraviolet light. And the narrative changed. Yeah, well, some animals can see ultraviolet light, but not mammals. Well, the scientists had another thing coming because somebody checked mice and gerbils. And they see ultraviolet light too. Scientists changed. Well, small mammals can see ultraviolet light, but not the big ones. Lo and behold, ferrets can see ultraviolet light, and the dialogue had to change again. The freedom to change our misunderstandings. Scientists had to revise their idea of what animals see that we do not. Following? Let's bring this back to what it looks like in the real world. If you were a honeybee, you would see the black-eyed Susan as a target. As you human being, we see a black-eyed Susan without the target. Now, I have to warn you about this photograph. We don't know what ultraviolet light looks like to a bee, really. All the photographer did was dub in some kind of something there. Right? Even the photographer had an umwelt he or she couldn't get over. This is really interesting stuff. Let's take a look at how dogs see the world. Dogs we thought were colorblind. How many have ever heard that idea? Dogs are colorblind? Yeah. Guess what? Dogs see yellows and blue. This image on the left is, whoops, that was not the image on the left. The image on the left, dogs see yellows and blues, grays and whites. Of course, this is done with filters, and we think that's what they see. Dog on the right is what you and I would see. The significance of this, to me, is really, really important, and I need Colin's help when it comes to this. Colin, are you around? This, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is just a dowel rod made with blue on one end and yellow on the other, yes? We're depicting what dogs can see. Different kinds of blue, different kinds of yellow, and let's say there's 10 different shades of color here. That's the dog's world in visual. Of course, the world of smell is vast, way beyond ours, but the visual world is just blue, yellow. This is what happens when we look at human vision in comparison. Your time is coming up soon, Colin. This is what happens with human vision. Now, I'm going to have you hold yellow, both parts of yellow. Very good, perfect. Now, human beings have something that dogs do not have. They have the ability to see reds. You and I see red. Now, you holding? You're holding? You're holding? Well, I'm turning. I got to turn the other way. Okay, just perfect like that. Now, you and I see reds. So that gives us a huge advantage, really, over dogs. We see red to blue, which is all our purples. We see red to yellow, which is all the oranges. You would know that, wouldn't you? And all the colors in between, yes? That's our triangle, because we have 3 color receptors in our eyes. Mathematically, very interesting. Dogs, where's dogs? Dogs, 10 different colors. Human beings, 10 times 10 times 10. We are seeing 1,000 more colors at a sunset and on a rainbow than dogs could ever see. Don't feel so special. Look at something you cannot see. Now, Colin, I want you to turn a little bit so that people can see sideways. Back up, back up, back up, back up, good. Uh-oh, Colin, can you hold this whole thing from red? Yeah, perfect. Now you're going to have to hold the thing up. This is, thanks to Denise, a butterfly that's supposed to be colored with ultraviolet something. Now, it's intentionally not easy for you to see, especially if you're in the back of the room, because human beings don't see this color. We might see something that you can see through. Nor can you see all the colors between ultraviolet and blue. Okay, drop it down a little bit. That's good. You don't have to hold it way up. We don't see ultraviolet to red, but lizards do. We don't see ultraviolet to yellow or green, but birds do. And we don't know what they're seeing. But how many times more? Look, hang on. They see 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, 1,000,000 times more than dogs see. And that's 1,000 times more than you and I see. What colors must a woodpecker be noticing that we don't? This is an immense, immense world to have colors way outside of our visual spectrum. Thank you, Colin. Thank you. Immense, absolutely. Oh, Colin, they were applauding for you, by the way. Immensity, absolutely immensity. Well, what does this mean? Well, let's take a look back on science again. Visible light is this little narrow band. It should say the word human in front of it. Human visible light, right? Because there is visible light outside of what humans can see. It's called ultraviolet. And if you're a bit mathematical about this, the distance between this and this, notice there's a lot more in the UV range than what is in the rainbow that we see. This is an immense world. What about hearing? Humans, pretty good. Actually, really good. Down to 15, up to, some people can hear 22,000 hertz. A good pianist, up to 25,000. Not even close to bats and mice and dolphins, who rank in the way outside. I don't know if you, this is very obvious, that this is where we are. Mice and bats and beluga whale, dolphins is something on the order of 9 times higher pitched than you and I can hear. And they're communicating all over the ocean this way. How about the other end of the spectrum? What about down here? Elephants can hear thunder, sub-thunder, infrasound. And they are rumbling across the plains of Africa this very moment in giant herds. We wish they were larger herds than there are. In giant herds, communicating with each other in sounds that we have only can dream of. Immensity. Absolutely immense universe. Let's take a look at something quite in our backyard sometimes. This is the color version of the sound and song of this bird. Because humans are so visually oriented, we are biased in not being able to hear as well as we can see. That's why the sonogram is here. This would be fun for you to do. Match up the sound with the pattern. Take a look and see if this thing will actually do what I want it to do. This is the winter wren. The winter wren has a song that absolutely is, maybe it's even familiar to you, and maybe it'll come through on the speaker. In black and white, this is the visual of the winter wren. Pretty complex. Now, my ears are not good enough, maybe a musician's are, to pick out the subtleties of winter wren, but when I see it like this, I say, whole lot of information I didn't get. Right? Only because we are not dominated by sound, we are dominated by sight. Our umwelt tells us that there's a lot of information there that we don't have. Now, this gentleman is a naturalist, and he recorded the winter wren. And he recorded
You've heard the saying, there's more to it than meets the eye. When it comes to the song of...
And he recorded the winter wren slowed down into the human hearing range. If we could hear like a bird, this is what it would sound like.
slow motion together. So you can get a
All that information was in that Twitter. All that meaning was in that Twitter. And our ears were not there. See, birds live their life very, very quickly. Faster than you and I can process it. Get it? What an immense world this is. And the only thing I'm sure of is that there's layers and layers and layers of complexity, even beyond what our senses will tell us. So we're free now to shed our misunderstandings based on a understanding, partial. We're responsible doing this scientifically and systematically to understand that there's a whole lot more out there. The search for truth means that now we need to freshly look at our perceptions and our method of perception, especially animal world, and then re-examine our prejudices and our pre-notions of what the world really is. Each species has its own sensory world and cannot be judged better or worse for having a different umwelt. This places a man or human concept of the animal supreme into some other place among the continuum of great perceivers of this world. I suggest we take a good, healthy dose of science and humility. Surround ourselves by the immensity and the variety of the natural world, and hope that we can get at least a glimpse of what's really out there. Thank you.
I don't know my bird songs, but I hear them out there just like singing. A perfect heart is one that has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect heart is one that has been shared. As joys and sorrows of our community are shared, please direct your energy and prayers and meditations as a gift of compassion and strength. Does anyone want to come to the microphone to share? please rise as you are willing and able to sing our second hymn, All Lifted Hearts, and the choir is going to lead us through it. I failed to mention, hello? Can we turn this microphone on for a minute? Okay, I failed to mention that this hymn is one that Barb Iavan bought at the service auction. So thank you, Barb.
So, there's a short verse of the hymn that's in your order of service. The choir is going to sing it through once, and then we'll all sing it. The choir continues to sing, and we'll join in with that chorus after each narration, and I'll also tell you when to sing it, but it's the same little chorus every time we do it. Starts out with the choir and then us. All right.
In the Talmud of the Jewish tradition, the sage Hillel said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others." This is the whole of the law. All the rest is commentary. In the Hindu legend of the Mahabharata, the divine Krishna declared, "This is the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you. It is written, it is taught, may it be so." In the Gospel of Matthew, in the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them." In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, "Hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful. It is written, it is taught, may it be so."
In the Muslim hadith of Al-Nawawi, the Prophet Muhammad teaches, "No one of you is a believer until he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself." In the Taishyam treatise of Taoism, the seeker is instructed, "Regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss. It is written, it is taught, may it be so."
When those wisdom of Shinto, there's a saying, the heart of the person before you is a mirror. See there your own form. The Oglala Lokata spiritual leader Black Elk wrote, all things are relative. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves. It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
These are the closing words from a rock and roll band. But it is a rock and roll band that took 25 years to be recognized in the Hall of Fame. Because it is the Moody Blues, and they wrote one of the very first pieces of orchestral rock and roll music back in the early 70s. Moody Blues, Days of Future Past. He says, cold-hearted orb that rules the night, removes the colors from our sight. Red is gray, and yellow white. But we decide which is right and which is an illusion. Pinprick holes in a colorless sky. Let insipid figures of light pass by. The mighty light of 10,000 suns challenges infinity and is soon gone.
One, two, three, four.
C for your mama, A. C for your papa, A. C for the whole world, for the boy or girl, for your number one fan. K.O. on the beat, okay? I'm human 808. Don't stop, cause the beat won't stop. No way, no way, no way, no way.